Good morning, YouTube. This is Majabella again to continue with my journey into Goddess. Um, like I said before, I work with Hecate a lot. I work with Danu. I work with Nyx. I worked with many of the Greek and Roman god and goddesses. I worked with some of the Celtic pathways. The reason I worked with Hecate as a primary was because I was seeking wisdom, and her being the crone aspect of the triple goddess was a very logical choice for me, and I still work with her um, a lot. She's probably one of my primaries that I do work with. However, when I think of goddess and how the energies work, um, I have found through my experience that the goddess picks you. You don't have to know anything about that goddess, but even if you're unaware, because it took me 11 years to figure out that this particular goddess had attached herself to me in a very difficult time in my life. I was going through an abusive marriage, and it had been a very long-term marriage, and it was part of the things that I needed to do in shadow work as to how I picked this person to be my spouse, how I lived with this person for so long, and why I allowed certain behaviors to be done towards me and live in an environment filled with this kind of behavior. These were, I could blame him all day long, but at some point you have to ask yourself why you did these choices, why you allowed these things to happen, why you continued on with it. It was in July of 2007. I woke up after doing chakra meditations, and I had a dream. This dream I knew was I have psychic dreams, and I have psychic abilities, so um, it's not unusual that I would have a different kind of dream. But this one was even apart from the psychic dreams. It was even apart from my regular dreams. It was different. And this dream consisted of me driving my vehicle down a caliche road, which is a very hard dirt road, and I was running at a very high rate of speed in the middle of the night, surrounded by darkness. The brush around me was closing in, and all I could see was not even a full car length ahead of me. My headlights wouldn't penetrate the darkness more than maybe half a car length in front of me. And I knew I was running at too rate of a speed, but I was going, and I don't know where I was going, I don't know why I was traveling that fast. But I knew that the speed itself was kind of making me leery, but I didn't care, I was still going. It's like I was escaping from something or avoiding something. When something grabbed me at the base of my spine, and when it did, it stopped the vehicle cold. The vehicle was still running. I was slamming the gas pedal all the way to the ground, and I couldn't go forward. And something had me. Something had attached, and it wouldn't let me go. So I looked back to try to see what had me, what had anchored itself to me, and I was blinded by this amazing white light. This was more than an average light. It was a blinding light. I couldn't look into the light because it was that type that you wouldn't be able to see after you turned away. So I moved forward again, looking forward, and being my stubborn self, being my just part of my nature, one of the things that I do always need to work with. I slammed the car in reverse, saying to myself, well, if you won't let go of me, I'll make you regret having hold of me. And I tried to move the car backward, and when I did, the snake that had a hold of me swallowed me whole. The only thing that was sticking out was my face. It was had a firm hold on me, and it was forcing my face to look only forward. And shortly after having, at that point, I woke up. I journaled the dream, and there were certain things that were very straightforward. And it was straightforward that I needed to look at the road ahead, that I needed to keep going, I needed to, but maybe not quite so fast, but I needed to look forward and only forward and go into that forward movement. Maybe it was telling me that I needed to quit running from my problems. Maybe it was telling me a lot of other layered aspects in the symbolism in the dream. But the important one was the snake. Now, when I Googled the snake or I Googled the serpent, it came up the Kundalini serpent. It came up the energy working that I was doing because I was doing chakra meditation. However, I didn't feel like that was the whole example of the dream. It felt like that there was something more that the dream was trying to tell me, but I was still thick as a brick. 2008, I caught my husband cheating, and I was able to finally leave. That was my out. He was a person who had been very abusive, and if it hadn't been his idea, I knew that if I'd left any other time in that marriage, that he would have come at me with in a violent manner. That he would have killed somebody, he would have blown up my car. He did have experience in explosives in the oil field work that he did. He did have some explosives and things like that. So I knew that my children and I were in danger if I just walked out on him and at any other point in time when he didn't feel like it was his idea. The following year, I had another dream. And in that dream, I walked out into the backyard of where I was staying with my daughter, and I could see a storm cloud brewing. Something was brewing in the sky. When I turned back to my friend to tell her that there was a storm coming, I ended up being transported into my parents' backyard, the yard in which I grew up in. I was looking at a tree in the center of the yard that had a power line running through it and a power pole. And on that power line was a giant boa constrictor snake. It was an anaconda. I remember knowing that because I had studied that kind of thing in school and probably when I was in like third grade. It was riding on the electrical pole, and I turned back to go inside my parents' house, and my ex-husband was there, and he loved snakes, and I wanted him to come and get that snake. I wanted him to know about the snake. I don't know why my ex had been in the dream, other than the fact that, well, I have no idea why he would have been in the dream. The divorce had already been final at that point, and yes, I was going to do my shadow work with him, trying to figure out why certain things had happened, but it wasn't really relevant. I didn't know why he was there. When he stepped out to see the snake dropped something to the base of the tree, and he tried to go run and pick it up, and I pushed him out of the way. And at that moment, two of my daughters stepped in between him and me, and I ran and I grabbed what I found to be a jaguar head. I knew it was a gift from me, and I knew it was precious, and I turned and I saw what appeared to be an altar in my parents' backyard, and I ran and I put the jaguar head on this altar, and I kneeled at it. Now, at this point, when I Googled jaguar and the snake, that is when I was able to name my goddess. Her name was Ashel. She was the jaguar goddess of the Mayan Indians. I did not know anything about a jaguar goddess, and in my journey into this goddess, it turned out that it had been an 11-year journey, that I had had signs the entire way, but until I found her name and found her story and found the history behind her, did I know that she had been working with me all along. The two dreams I happened to journal, and when I had went to take the second dream to a group of friends, I went to grab one journal and I didn't have that one with me. I had another journal, and it was the original dream that I hadn't forgotten the dream, but I had forgotten detail. And the detail was that I had written it on July 14th, 2007, and that was the day I woke up from the dream. The dream that I had had that year with the jaguar head given to me as a present was also July 14th, 2009. Then thinking back on it, it was July 14th, 2008, I caught my husband cheating. Going back even further, it was July 14th, 2098. I had had a serious accident where I was doing really well in exercise and stuff until I took a bicycle down a very steep hill, unknowing that the hill was there, and shattered my shoulder. This is significant because that accident, also the culmination of what went into that accident had a lot to do with the shadow work that I had to do. But again, July 14th was a recurrent thing. It doesn't happen every year, but July 14th comes through as a very important day for me. And anywhere in the middle of the July 13th to July 14th, I have prophetic dreams to my life. I have prophetic events to my life. And this is the story of a show. July 14th isn't significant to me in any other way. And looking up that date, all I can find really is Bastille Day. That is a liberation day, and it is a day of a prisoner being released. And I did tell everybody that most of my life I felt like I was in a prison, and I had done my full sentence, and not one single day off for good behavior. So that is part 2 of my journey into Goddess, and I will tell you more in part 3 of how the shadow work with the shell played out, how she attached herself to me, and basically a little bit about her story. But I want to keep these videos short, so I'm going to end now. And blessed be.